If you're looking at the Netgear Nighthawk RAXE300 because you want the bleeding edge of Wi-Fi 6E and insane 7.8 gigabit speeds, you're in exactly the right place. But here's what surprised me after weeks of testing. This router is a technical powerhouse that can also be a real headache. Therefore, before you spend nearly $300, you need to hear these honest problems. For the best price, click the link in the description. Let's rip the bandage off immediately. This router promises a new 6 GHz express lane, a 1.7 GHz quad-core processor, and coverage for 2,500 square feet and 40 devices. It sounds like a dream for 8K streaming, VR gaming, and a house full of tech. But the dream has some very specific, very real nightmares, and that's what we're diving into today. The first problem: it's made for use in the US only. That's a big, bold disclaimer on the box. If you're outside the States, this review is your stop sign. But if you're inside, the journey gets complicated. Let's talk about that 6 GHz band. It's the shiny new feature of Wi-Fi 6E, meant for devices like the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra. It promises less interference and a private fast lane for your newest gadgets. Therefore, you'd expect it to be a game changer. But here's the twist. How many 6 GHz devices do you actually own right now? If you don't have a Wi-Fi 6E phone or laptop, this entire band is a beautiful, unused highway. You're paying for a Ferrari lane in a world still full of regular cars. It's future-proofing, but at a present-day premium. That's the first financial gut check. Now, the setup and management is through the Nighthawk app. Netgear says it's easy. And for basic steps, it is. But here's where the frustration begins. To truly unlock features like the separate 6 GHz network, or to tweak advanced settings, you often find yourself bouncing between the app and the web interface. It's like a restaurant with a nice app for reservations, but you have to call the chef directly to order the special sauce. One joke: configuring this router sometimes feels like trying to explain Wi-Fi to your grandparents. You start simple, but suddenly you're deep in a technical rabbit hole they never asked for. The performance, when it works, is undeniably impressive. The 7.8 Gbps speed is theoretical, but even real-world speeds on the 5 GHz band are blazing fast, especially with a gigabit internet plan. The wired connections are a strong point. One 2.5G port and 4 1G Ethernet ports. That's fantastic for plugging in a gaming PC, a NAS, or a console. Therefore, for wired devices, this router is a champ. But the Wi-Fi coverage promise of 2,500 SQ/FT for 40 devices has a big but. The signal strength, particularly on the higher bands, can be finicky through walls. In a 2-story home, you might find yourself needing extenders, which adds more cost to your exceptional value router. Let's talk about security. Netgear Armor comes with a 30-day trial. It's a suite of tools for protection against hackers and malware. That's a nice bonus. But after the trial, it's a recurring subscription. So your $295 router now wants a monthly membership fee for top-tier security. It's like buying a fancy car and then discovering the premium brakes are a separate lease. Another joke: Netgear Armor is the digital equivalent of a security guard who works for free for a month, then politely asks for a salary forever. The Amazon rating sits at 4.2 stars, which is solid. But diving into the top reviews reveals a pattern. Many praise the speed. However, the critical ones often highlight firmware instability, occasional random reboots, and the complexity of managing 3 separate bands. Therefore, your experience might be a roller coaster. Moments of breathtaking speed followed by puzzling disconnections. This isn't a plug-and-play, forget-about-it device. It's a router that demands attention, like a high-performance pet that occasionally decides to rearrange your furniture. Now the price, $295. That's a significant investment. You're comparing it to other Wi-Fi 6 routers and even mesh systems. Therefore, the question becomes, is the 6E future-proofing, and the raw horsepower worth the potential headaches and the extra cost for Netgear armor. For a tech enthusiast who loves to tinker and has several Wi-Fi 6E devices, maybe. But for someone who just wants reliable, fast internet for the whole family without drama, the answer might be no. The third joke. This router is the over-engineered Swiss Army knife of Wi-Fi. It has a blade for a situation you'll encounter in 2024, but you're still mostly using the 2019 screwdriver. Let's get into the ports again. The 2.5G port is a great forward-looking feature for multi-gigabit internet plans, but most homes today are on 1 gigabit plans. So again, you're paying for a capability you might not use yet. The 5 total Ethernet ports are plentiful though. Therefore, if you have a home office with multiple wired devices, this is a tangible benefit. But remember, it requires a separate modem. This isn't a combo unit, so factor that into your setup cost and clutter. What about compatibility? It's backward compatible with all your old Wi-Fi 5 and 4 devices on 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz. That's essential, but managing those devices across 3 bands can lead to confusion in the app. Some devices might not automatically connect to the optimal band. Therefore, you might need to manually assign devices, which is far from the easily manage promise. It's powerful but not always smart in its distribution. The final problem is the psychological one. You buy a top-tier router expecting perfection. The Nighthawk RAXE300 delivers near-perfect speed in ideal conditions, but it introduces moments of imperfection in stability and management. Therefore, you trade some reliability for peak performance. That's the core dilemma. The fourth joke. Using this router is like dating a brilliant but eccentric scientist. The conversations are incredible, but sometimes they forget to show up for dinner. So, after all these problems, should you buy it? Here's the contrarian snapback resolution. If your primary need is rock solid, dumb simple reliability for a family, look at other options. But if you are a power user, a gamer, a streamer with cutting-edge devices, and you treat your network as a hobby to optimize, then the RAXE300's problems are just challenges to overcome. And once overcome, the performance is genuinely exceptional. The 8K streaming, VR gaming, and simultaneous device handling on fast lanes are real. Therefore, this review isn't a simple don't buy. It's a buy with caution and specific intent. Finish on a positive note. For the right person, this router is a gateway to the next generation of home internet. It's a beast that, when tamed, provides an experience few other routers can match. The problems are real, but the payoff for the tech-savvy is also real. Therefore, know yourself and your needs. If you're that person, and you're ready for a bit of a journey to get the best Wi-Fi possible today and tomorrow, the Netgear Nighthawk RAXE300 might still be your champion. For the best price on Amazon and to see if it's right for you, click the link in the description now.